At 14, Usher was sent to live with Diddy to become a star. Instead, he ended up in something called Flavor Camp, a mansion full of parties, cameras, and people in masks. No vocal lessons, no rehearsals, just chaos. Now Usher's in court under oath, exposing what really happened inside Diddy's empire. From NDAs that silenced kids to ritual parties at 3 a.m., what he saw was never meant to go public. And the worst part? He says Diddy wasn't just doing it to him. He wasn't there to perform. He wasn't promoting a new album. He was there to testify, to speak about a man who shaped his early career and nearly destroyed his sense of self. Usher stood before the court not as a singer, but as a witness to something he had carried in silence for over 2 decades. And as he looked across the room at Sean Diddy Combs, the music industry itself seemed to hold its breath. It began with a phone call from his mother. He was only 14, fresh off his debut album, full of dreams and hungry to rise. L.A. Reid had arranged what was supposed to be a golden opportunity. Usher would live with Diddy in New York to learn the ropes, to be mentored, to be made into a star. That's what they promised. But as Usher told the court, "I thought I was going to learn how to be a star. What I saw instead were things no teenager should be around." Diddy's Midtown penthouse was less of a home and more of a stage. Not the kind you sing on, but the kind that hides things in the shadows. Usher described breakfast trays with champagne. Strangers passed out in unfamiliar rooms. Celebrities in silk robes and sunglasses at dawn. "I didn't understand what I was looking at," he said. "I called it Flavor Camp because that's what they called it. I thought it was branding. Later I realized it meant indulgence, it meant excess. There were no singing lessons, no performance coaching. Instead, Usher was told to observe, to absorb. You don't ask, you just watch. Learn by watching, that's how grown men roll." Those were Diddy's words. He recalled the night he woke up at 3 a.m. to masked strangers entering the apartment. The music was low, candles lined the hallway. In the living room, he saw what looked like a ritual. Structured, coordinated, filmed. "I thought I'd walked into a movie set," he said, "but it wasn't acting. No one looked surprised. I was the only one who didn't belong." That night stayed with him. He didn't sleep. He didn't ask questions, but something in him broke. What began as mentorship turned into a game of silent rules and blurred lines. And no one, not his mother, not the label, not the managers, warned him. People thought Diddy was eccentric, Usher explained. They didn't see that he had quiet power. If he liked you, you were golden. If he didn't, your career stalled. He spoke of other young artists, never naming names but hinting at an entire generation pulled into Diddy's orbit. Drivers, assistants, musicians. Everyone acted like it was normal, but it wasn't. "The adults failed us," he said. Then came the trip to the Caribbean. Usher was 15. He was told it was a retreat, just him, Diddy, and a few others. No cameras, no press, just quiet isolation. "That's when I realized I wasn't there to learn anything about music," he said. "I won't go into everything, but I'll say this. I wasn't given a choice about the environment I was placed in." When he came back from that trip, everything had changed. Diddy was more controlling. New people appeared, more parties, more rules. And anytime Usher resisted, even a little, he was reminded, "You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Remember who gave you this life." Usher paused, then looked at Diddy. "You didn't give me this life. You gave me nightmares." At age 16, Usher was presented with a contract. A standard NDA, they said, to protect Bad Boy Records' internal dealings. But the language was specific. It referenced private events, discretion, and audiovisual documentation. His mother had to co-sign. Lawyers said it was normal. He didn't understand half the words, but he signed. That signature, he says, bought his silence for years. In 2009, he almost broke it. He was preparing for a major interview when the questions turned personal. Then the phone rang. It was someone from Bad Boy's old legal team. "We hope you're not jeopardizing your reputation," they said. He backed out. But it wasn't just lawyers. There were people I hadn't spoken to in years calling me, warning me, "You think you're done with that world, but it's never done with you." The courtroom was silent as Usher produced the NDA. The judge allowed it into evidence. The words, once bureaucratic, now sounded sinister. Usher's voice cracked. "That document made me feel like I was crazy. Like everything I saw, everything I felt wasn't real, because I wasn't allowed to say it out loud." Then came Atlanta, 1996. He was 17. Diddy brought him to a mansion party filled with celebrities, models, and men who didn't seem connected to the music industry at all. Security at every door, a DJ spinning until sunrise. But what stood out wasn't the luxury, it was the door at the back of the mansion, locked. Usher remembered Diddy whispering, "You're not ready for that yet," then grinning. But Usher looked anyway, people in masks. That's all he would say. "I didn't know what I was looking at, but I knew it wasn't right." He later wrote about it in a journal he'd kept since 1998. What started as a place for lyrics became something darker, a vault of memories and warnings to himself. One entry read, "Had dinner with Diddy and 3 execs. They kept saying, loyalty keeps you on tour, honesty puts you back home." Diddy laughed. By now, the courtroom was hanging on every word. The prosecution asked if he'd told anyone about the journal. "No," he said. "I was afraid of losing everything. I didn't think anyone would believe me. So why now? Because I've lived with it long enough, and it's time the truth comes out." He leaned forward and spoke of something he hadn't even told his closest friends. In 1997, Diddy arranged a meeting with a major investor in Miami. Usher, 18, was told this was his big break. Dress up, look sharp, be polite. When he arrived at the Satay Hotel penthouse, 3 men in robes greeted him. Young women sat quietly in the background. One of the men, foreign, leaned in and said, "You want to be remembered forever." Usher froze. "They didn't touch me," he said. But one of them put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You can stay or leave, but you won't get another invitation like this again." Usher left, and the doors closed. A tour opportunity vanished. A major producer backed out. No explanations. Diddy showed him a video clip a few weeks later. Another young artist doing something he clearly didn't consent to. He laughed, Usher said. It was a warning. When asked if Diddy ever threatened him directly, Usher replied, he didn't have to. The people around him did, with silence, with exile. Usher paused. That was when I realized talent wasn't what kept you famous in Diddy's world. Submission did. His voice began to tremble slightly as he recalled a new chapter in the story, one that dragged the spotlight to another artist who once stood on the edge of innocence, Justin Bieber. Usher had helped launch Bieber's career, guiding him, mentoring him, protecting him. Or so he thought. In the beginning, everything felt right. I wanted to be the big brother I never had, Usher told the courtroom. But then Diddy entered the picture. Invitations started arriving for what Diddy still called flavor camp, that same phrase from years earlier. Justin was just 15. They were treating him like a grown man, Usher said. One night in 2011, Usher got a late-night call from Bieber. No words at first, just breathing. Then finally, "I want to come home." For 2 days, no one could find him. When they finally reconnected, Bieber wouldn't look him in the eye. All he said was, "It's fine. I'm good now." But he wasn't. That moment haunted Usher. He confronted Diddy in private. "What are you doing to these kids?" he asked. Diddy's reply chilled him. "Same thing they did to me." It's how the game works. After that, Usher stepped back. He didn't want to be part of it anymore. But watching what happened to Justin, seeing the light go out behind his eyes, was the final straw. I couldn't stay silent anymore. In 2018, an anonymous call came. A voice, unfamiliar, low, threatening. "Tell him to keep his mouth shut or we'll shut it for him." When the prosecutor asked who he believed was behind the call, Usher didn't hesitate. He looked directly at the defense table. "I think you know." Then came a night Usher said he had never spoken of publicly. It was 2002, a private party in a secluded estate in the Hollywood Hills. No cameras, no press, no phones allowed. Guests were presented with contracts labeled as NDAs, but the language was even more aggressive than anything Usher had ever seen in the industry. The vibe was wrong, he said. There were people there who weren't artists or execs. They were just watching. He recognized some faces, famous, powerful, but wouldn't name them. Not yet. "If this trial continues, others will come forward," he said ominously. Then he described what happened when he tried to leave early. A man he didn't know blocked the exit and led him to a side room where Diddy was waiting. "You're not ready yet," Diddy told him. "You still think this is about music. This is bigger than that." Usher left and never went to another party hosted by Diddy again. But the damage was done. He turned his focus to the contracts, the business. That's when he realized the paper trail wasn't just controlling, it was predatory. He had signed a development deal as a teenager, locking him into 5 albums and giving away his masters until he was 35. "I didn't know what I was signing," he said. "I just wanted to sing." Other artists, he revealed, had been pulled into the same trap. Carl Thomas, Total, Black Rob, Craig Mack. Usher said Diddy had a pattern, pulling people close with promises of fame, then tossing them aside once they were no longer useful or obedient. One day, a private accountant emailed Usher a spreadsheet. It showed $4.3 million in royalties he'd never received. When Usher confronted Diddy, the mogul laughed. If you knew what was really owed to you, you wouldn't sleep at night. That line stuck with him. Even worse were the stories he couldn't prove, like the artist who threatened to speak out, only to have his demo tapes destroyed on Diddy's orders. That artist, Usher said, vanished. No one knows where he is, but I remember his voice. I remember he was scared. Then came the question everyone had in their minds. Why didn't you speak up sooner? Usher looked down, his hands trembling slightly. Because I thought I owed him, he said. I thought if I stayed quiet, I could still move on, still be grateful, but you can't be grateful for a lie. The guilt stayed with him for years. He watched other young artists fall into the same traps. Some couldn't handle it. One overdosed. Another attempted to end his life. A third? Gone. I was lucky, Usher admitted. I had the money to get help. Some of them didn't. Then he told the story no one saw coming. In 2001, just after releasing 8701, Usher vanished from the public eye for a full week. Rumors swirled. Vacation, exhaustion, burnout. But in court, Usher revealed the truth. He had been checked into a private mental health facility in Northern California under a fake name. He had started having panic attacks after turning 20. Flashing lights, crowded rooms, certain songs, all triggered something deep and dark. At first, he didn't know why, but one night, in a New York hotel, once the site of one of Diddy's infamous parties, he smelled a candle. A scent Diddy used to burn. My whole body froze, he said. I started shaking. I couldn't breathe. That night, his team rushed him to the clinic. There, he finally opened up to a psychiatrist. I told him I saw things no kid should see, that I lived in a world where power meant silence and survival meant smiling through it. That house wasn't just a place to sleep. It was a place where dreams were sold, but your soul was the price. Usher was diagnosed with PTSD. It took him 2 years to sleep through the night again without waking up in fear. And while he never named others who went through the same ordeal, he hinted that the trauma wasn't unique to him. Several of us disappeared. Some broke down, some never came back. He finished his testimony with a journal entry, never published, never shared, written the night he walked away from Diddy's mentorship for good. I survived Puffy, but did the kid in me survive? I still don't know. Usher turned to the court, to the audience watching online, and to the young artists who still believe in fame like it's a fairy tale. This isn't about one man. This is about a system. A system that told kids like me to shut up, smile, and never question the hands that fed us. He paused. But I'm here now. And I'm not afraid anymore, not for me. I've lived through it. I'm doing this for the ones who didn't. The courtroom sat in absolute silence. What began as a federal trial had become something else entirely. A reckoning. A spotlight on an empire built not just on music, but on fear, power, and silence. And for the first time, the world was listening.